What's up, bench racers? Before we get into this classic episode featuring open wheel virtuoso Mike Westwood and NASCAR Canadian Tire Series star JR Fitzpatrick, I just wanted to take a quick moment to welcome our brand new bench racing sponsor, Fast Eddie Racewear. Now, all throughout the 2014 season, every bench racing episode you see will be brought to you by Fast Eddie Racewear. Show them some love. Check them out on the internet. They got a brand new website coming, fasteddie.racewear.com. Follow them on Twitter @WearFastEddie. Can't thank them enough for coming on board. They love what we're doing. They love the short track movement. So if you're out there, you see their products, show them love. If you see them at a speedway, thank them very much for what they do. I promise you that our product is going to be better because of the help and the support that Fast Eddie has given us. Now, without further ado, let's get into this classic episode. You guys are going to love this one. It's one of my personal favorites. Mike Westwood and JR Fitzpatrick. Let's get to it. We're here for bench racing at the Striker Chassis headquarters, or the Striker Chassis East building, because you got like a whole complex of various institutions out here. So Mike Westwood's playing host for us here. This is another one of those episodes where you, the fans, asked for it and we listened to you. You wanted another open wheel modified episode, no problem, you got it. You wanted JR Fitzpatrick, no problem, you got it. And you wanted Mr. Striker Chassis himself, Mike Westwood. So here we go. I expect a lot of views out of this one because it's going to be a lot of fun. I figure that there's so much that I want to ask you guys. We'll start right back at the start. You're a third generation race car driver. Was it always just sort of understood amongst your family that when you could walk, then you're going to start racing? Like the way was just sort of paved for you?
I was never pushed into racing. I mean, I pretty much figured at a young age I was going to be a racer. I mean, I remember my mom still has it at home somewhere, a kindergarten project, and it asked you what you wanted to be when you're older. I put race car driver. So, you know, it was kind of set. I grew up at every track in Ontario. My dad raced hobby cars forever, so we used to do that East Tour when they used to go down to Maine. That's probably why I'm pretty much deaf on one side. Growing up at the track, no hearing protection. But yeah, it was pretty much set, I think.
Now, your grandmother actually raced at Pinecrest, which I think is just awesome because Pinecrest is like the mecca for any race fan over the age of 40. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, how much do you know about her racing career?
I don't know a whole lot about it, but she raced, I guess they call it the powder puff division. And it turns out, when I started in the Can-Am Midgets, Todd Cresswell, that runs a 3-car, we got talking one time, and my dad goes, there was a Cresswell that ran against your grandmother. So Todd and I started talking. Turns out it was his grandmother. So it's kind of funny how that worked out. But yeah, she ran like, it was a powder puff, I think it was like a late model kind of car, and she ran it for a few years. My grandfather had a bunch of different drivers, like fairly well-known drivers from back then, like the Chief Blaker. He ran. There's a few other guys I can't remember the names offhand right now. But yeah, I don't know a ton about it. But I've seen pictures. That's where my dad got his number 21 from that he runs. It was always on her car.
That's awesome. Now, the way was paved for Mike. Do you ever remember a time when you didn't want to be a race car driver?
Not me. I kind of grew up with it, you know. My dad sponsored Mal Freed from Saddle Beach.
Alabama Mal.
Yeah, everybody knows Alabama Mal. And sponsored him, and then I guess in '92, JF, my dad, jumped the car, figured he could do it. And so he loved it, he got a car, but he definitely couldn't do it. He wrecked a lot of shit, that's for sure.
Yes,
but since I was 6, I've been racing, so I started snowmobiles when I was 2, riding around, hitting some stuff, and then it's all uphill from there.
Now, you were part of the really early incarnation of the junior racing league, junior NASCAR?
Well, actually, me and Joe Chisholm Jr. were the first junior late model race in Canada at Saddle Beach, and it was just us two out there racing, so we were the very first two.
So how fast did that series grow? Because it's still around now. The JRL at Delaware is a phenomenal base for their young talent. Sauble still got the junior late models. How fast did that class just sort of explode?
I mean, it grew pretty big. I mean, last I looked at like 25 cars at Delaware, which is awesome to see. Sauble, I'm not sure how many's up there, but that's where it all started up Sauble. And then, you know, even in Saskatoon, like in Canada, it's definitely exploded pretty good.
Now, your father was a poignant member of the, I guess, did he race when it was NCAS or was he just strictly CASCAR? I'm trying to remember.
He was just strictly NASCAR.
Strictly CASCAR. So he was well known on the tour, and was it always just sort of expecting, he was just waiting for the day where he could just sort of step aside and put all that spotlight on you?
I mean, he was definitely known to change the ways of safety in CASCAR, because I mean, he hit everything to his full potential. And
he tested that fence at Barrie.
Yeah, fence and Barrie, wall of Kawartha. I mean, the list goes on, but he had a lot of fun doing what he's doing. You know, he's a very successful business guy and very good at what he does, and that's more of a stress reliever for him, just having some fun. But you know, he's well known as a multiple championship car owner, and definitely changed the face in racing, because you know, we were the first team to have a spare car, you know, a cast car, and we were one of the first teams to have a double decker. So he kind of exploded, you know, the single car team into something pretty awesome. But in 2006, the year I won the championship, he ran selective races. That was his last season before his accident. But then in 04, him and I had a bet, whoever could beat each other at Delaware was going to run full season, and you know, I beat him. And
by a lot? Like,
by a fair bit. He actually gave up. He got spun out a bunch of times, and I guess he just got frustrated and gave up. So that's where I get my sore loser side from.
It's awesome that you guys have taken the family-run operation that you typically see on Friday nights or Saturday nights in the weekly ranks, and you've taken it national. There's not a lot of teams that have been able to do it, and not a lot of teams that do it with the success that the old lady 4 car's been able to do. Talk to me a little bit about the pride that you have in being able to go out there nationally, race on TV, go across the country with your family-run operation.
I mean, we're pretty fortunate in a way where, you know, like I said, JF's really a smart businessman, and you know, he looks after everything financially, which is obviously a very big part, and you know, he's been really good to us that way. But to see, you know, an operation go from, you know, a 2-door garage into it's a 4-door garage with a barn now we store cars in, and we just really have excelled our program by a lot. You know, it started in late '96 when Don showed up, but JF started in the beginning of '96 and he couldn't even make races, so we needed a guy back then that really knew those cars, and Don was the man.
Now, you haven't raced NCATs yet. I wouldn't count it out because you've raced everything. Now, just before we got on camera, JR was a little bit late. Shocker. So, Mike was running me through everything he's built and raced, and I got to get this on camera. Like, run it by me again. Everything you've had a hand in. I mean, you were telling me some stories I've never even known before. So let's get this on YouTube. How many different hot rods have you driven in your time?
Well, I raced go-karts with Waterloo Kart Club. That's where I started. When I turned 15, my uncle and I built a street stock. I ran at Flamborough for, I'm going to say, about 3 years. We ran it at Cayuga a couple times. Awesome. I missed that track. That was back when it was a little smoother. I drove my dad's late model at Flamborough a few times, but I wasn't strong enough to hold on the steering wheel. I ended up renting Sandy.
Some bicep curls.
After that, we started building a Challenger car when it had the Challenger division. Kind of ran out of money. Ended up selling the car. I got a little unhappy about racing cars, so I went and started racing bikes. I raced motocross for probably 8 years.
Now I'm going to jump in here real quick, because another story that we had off camera was all the stuff that you've broken racing motocross. That, I mean, you might have had a blast racing that sport, but it didn't sound like it was very kind to your body.
Just tell them what you haven't broken, be shorter.
Yeah, I mean, how long of a list are we talking about here? Bodily injuries caused by motocross.
A lot. I mean, I broke something in every limb, multiple things in my leg at the same time. I mean, I've had 4 ankle surgeries, 5 knee surgeries, 2 shoulder surgeries, broke my shoulder blade in half the wrong way, broke my leg in 6 places, had my foot going the wrong way, so it was a bit sloppy. One thing people don't know is I did go through cancer. I went through chemo. If you ever watch me pull it on the track and you see the car speed up and then stop really quick, it's because I have no feeling in my feet. From the chemo, it burnt the nerves out of my feet. So I have no feeling in my feet, so I'm gauging the pressure on the brake through my hip. So if you ever see me pull it on the track, you kind of do this wiggle and then nosedive the car. That's what I'm doing. I'm getting feel for the brake. After motocross, all the injuries, my shoulders were so bad, I didn't really want to go back. I retired from motocross in 2005, but I thought I'd try a super bike. So I bought a super bike. I went to Mosport and ran the big road course at Mosport. It's a little insane. You go off,
it's kind of crazy.
Come back straight away. But cool. I mean, you don't have to worry about cars pulling you, so it's kind of nice. My dad ended up renting a Hurricane Midget in 2004 from Jack Swanson, who passed away there a few years ago. And my dad did it for two reasons. He wanted to get back into racing, and he was hoping that it would inspire me to get back into racing.
It would lure you back into short track competition.
He didn't really like the, you know, the dirt bikes, because it was always myself going to the races, and it was always him calling home to say, we're at a different hospital, and Mike's broke this. And
you should see this one. It's really nice.
It's really bad. I mean, you know, his leg is going this way, but the waiting room is awesome.
Good. I got taken to Wingham Hospital one time. I dislocated my shoulder. It was over here, and my shoulder blade was broken. And we go to Wingham Hospital, and the doctor that was there was like an older lady, and she probably weighed about 60 pounds. And she's looking at me, and this is back when I was fit. And she's going, I don't know how I'm going to get that thing back in. So she goes, she calls two more people down, and they strap me to the bed and tie a towel around my arm and pull. And, you know, she had her feet on the side, pop the thing back in. But my dad's going, should I call home now and tell your mom that you're hurt, or should we just wait until we get home? I said, let's just wait till we get home.
When you're getting strapped down to a bed for someone to pop your shoulder back in place.
I've been strapped down to a bed, but never to pull my shoulder.
Yeah, it never ends that terrible. That sounds like something out of Shutter Island or so. That just sounds terrible.
You want to know something that feels better when it goes back in? When it's out, it hurts a lot.
How many hospitals have you been in?
Well,
How much have you gotten hurt through racing?
I've only, through racing, not as bad, obviously. I ran dirt bikes, so, you know, I cut my arm open, you know, I think I cracked a rib, sprained a shoulder, so it wasn't that bad, but...
You're sitting over here like, how am I going to follow this?
Yeah, you know, you got to race super bikes and motocross for a long time. I only ran motocross for about a year, and I was good with that, you know. I've had a couple, maybe 3 concussions, but nothing crazy, but that's just what you get for doing that.
I'm up to 13.
There's only one good thing, his hair still grows.
And his beard. The beard's, I'm telling you, the beard's good. Like, you should keep that for the Oscars. You can join Beer Wars and show Tyler Hahn what's what.
Tyler had a good beard, but you know, Josh had a really good one too.
Grunts did have a good beard, and Stickle had the hipster beard. It's close.
Hipster beard.
Tyler Hahn always had the big, the big bushy beard.
I think Shane paints his on, because he doesn't look old enough to grow facial hair yet. So I think Shane paints it on.
It goes with the Porsche tow vehicle sort of aura.
Wow.
Now, so started in snowmobiles, then junior late model, junior cast cars. You ended up in NCAS, but there was a real good late model presence there for a little bit. When did you get your first late model?
Yeah, I started late model racing when I was 13. We had that car that Don ran in New Smyrna, you know, the old Camaro flip cars. And I ran a couple races in 2002, and then I ran in 2003 at Flamborough for the first 5 races. I won my first race, my 3rd start, which I still think is the youngest to win, is 14 in a late model Flamborough, which is pretty cool. I beat Petey Shepherd at that by like 3 days. And growing up, Petey was actually the guy I looked up to, right? Because he was really, in that time, the youngest guy to slowly move up the Thunder cars. When he was 13, he ran late model, he was 14 in All-Star when he was, I think, 15.
Yeah, he was
so, I mean, he was a guy that a young guy like me would really idolize. I still do. Petey and I are really good friends. And then, yeah, just from there, I ran part-time, and I crewed for my dad and his team. I changed tires for about a year, but in that year, I tested with them every time. You know, I only ran 3rd gear around this track and just get comfortable. And then 2003, when all our stuff got stolen in Quebec, there we bought all Joe Plattick's old stuff. And then I did NASCAR Sportsman. And then 2004 was go or no go, depends if I beat the old man in that race. So it's been up there ever since.
It's a prestigious list of guys that have had all their stuff stolen in Quebec. There's a lot of real good drivers that have lost stuff in Quebec.
And it's funny because there was a guy like 3 years ago who told us that we know where all your stuff is. It's still there. So I mean, it'd be kind of cool to go back and pull them out without getting shot and look at them and just say, you know, wow, that's like what we used to do. Like, ooh, what is that? You know, like times really change in terms of how you build a race car, but. Yeah, all they did was steal it and throw it underground, I guess.
So when you get your entire operation stolen, how much of it is covered by insurance? I'm assuming the rig and the trailer, and that's it?
We got the rig and trailer back, and we got one fire suit back, and it's just funny, because that year before I started racing, that was when JF and Don were racing. We were really well prepared that year. I mean, we had 2 pit boxes, spare engines, we had a spare car on the top, and we were going prepared. And Don was leading the points, and my dad was actually 5th in points. So, I mean, that car, he really liked that car. But insurance covered most of it, but obviously not a lot, enough of it. But we ended up getting all Joe Plastic stuff for a really good price, and carried it on just for a couple of years using that stuff, and sold it.
Now you mentioned that Don Thompson Jr. So you ended up driving one of his former late models when you first got into the Saturday night scene. So it sounds like he's been a pretty integral part of your operation almost right from the start.
He has. You know, obviously growing up, he's kind of been like my mentor in a way. Him and I never really got along when I was younger, just because he's been around my whole life, so I kind of look at him as a brother of mine. So he used to pick on me a lot and do some bad stuff. You know,
a much older brother, right?
Much older. You know,
shorter.
He could be my dad, but you know, when I was 8 when he started coming around, 8 or 7 when he started coming around. So you know, as I started catching up in height and got bigger, and all that picking around's gone the other way now, right?
What did he start telling you? He was 10 when he was taller than Don.
Yeah. But no, I had a thing where I thought he was always picking on me, and I didn't really like him at that time. But as you get older, you know, you realize what he was doing was for your best interest. You know, everything he taught me is definitely hard to learn from somebody else. I mean, the guy is going to go down in history as one of the greatest Canadian racers, whether people think that or not. He's very good at what he does. Fabrication-wise, he's very good at what he does. Takes his time. I've learned a lot.
Now I know just because you're so competitive, you're hard on yourself, it sort of spreads out to the people around you. You're hard on your team because you want to do well. But is Donnie one guy that you can point to and say, you know what? Yes, that's one guy that made me better.
Well, and the way I am, I get from him. You know, he's the exact same way. He's hard on everyone around him because he wants everyone to do better. And I feel I'm the kind of same way, but I might take it a little too far. I mean, I go-karting today, I'm losing a go-kart, and I have a little hissy fit, and I leave, right? So
he kicked the door in. He kicked the door in when he got here.
He does this often.
I'm a really sore loser, and I think that puts a bad image. Like, not a lot of people like me because A, I don't talk to people at the racetrack, or I just look like I'm grumpy. Well, I can't hear.
I love you, dude. It's
I can't. You know, in all fairness, I wear hearing aids, so if I don't talk to you, it's really because I can't hear you. And yeah, I have a hissy fit now and then, but if you talk to me about 5 minutes later, I'll probably be over it.
Now, you mentioned getting into the Hurricane Midgets and how your dad sort of got you in there, but I mean, you hit the ground running with that because you can't see, it's just out of frame. This whole wall is just covered in photos of Hurricane Midgets that Mike's either driven or built or both. So when did you, obviously you fell in love with the club for you to be involved the way you have, and how did that happen?
Well, like I said, my dad rented one of Jack's cars. We went out to Flamborough. It broke, of course. Spindle broke. So my dad was a little hot about it because he rented this car and it broke. So he rented again for another race. And at the time, I think I was still on crutches from something. So we went to another track and it broke again. And I said to my dad, I said, do you really enjoy driving this car? He goes, yeah, you know, it seems like it'd be good. And I said, that's all I need to know. So that winter I built him a brand new car, and I was still running motocross at the time, and I hadn't built myself one, and I started to build myself one, and then I hurt myself again, right at the start of the season. And my wife actually took interest, and she doesn't come from a racing family at all. Like, she had never raced. She might have gone to a race, but, you know, no interest in racing. I said, you know, I built this car for me. I can't run it. We're going to the track anyways. I said, do you want to drive it? She's like, heck yeah. So next thing I know, she's in the car. And I think I was more nervous watching her race than I've ever been racing myself. But she turned out to be actually natural in a midget car. She made a lot of the guys angry. And I liked it.
Now, how long did she race for? How many seasons was she out there for?
She only ran 2 years, and her first year out, she finished 5th in the points and won Rookie of the Year, her first year out. Now, back then, I mean, there was probably only 12 cars, though, right? Like, that club was hurting when we first started in it. And the next year, I showed up with 5 cars. I built 5 cars. My dad had one, my wife had one, I had one. I had a friend of mine drive one that I raced motocross with. He had broke his femur. and didn't want to get back on a bike. So I put him in a Hurricane because he wanted to race. Figured it would be, you know, racing. If you're a racer, you're a racer. It doesn't matter if you race bicycles or if you race cars. It's in you. And I know he knows it too. Because we're ultra competitive.
The grocery store.
We bet on stupid things all the time. So I showed up with 5 cars, and the other car was a rental car. And I was trying to get people interested in the club. Because, I mean, I like to win, but I love to race. And I need people to race against. So I started building cars, and next thing you know, people are going, how much for one of those cars? Well, I'll sell you this one. I'll just build another one. So all of a sudden, that car sold, and then I built another one. And then somebody come up, well, you got another car for sale? Sure. And then I started selling cars. And then people started calling me, I want a car, I want a car, I want a car. And next thing you know, I'm starting to build all these cars. Oh, well, maybe there's a business in this now. And it was helping me pay for my racing. So in 2009, I was racing the Canadian Midget for Rob Neely, and I decided in a week to build a car. We started Monday morning and we had it on the track Saturday morning. And that car turned out, that was in 2009, I ran 6 races with that car. Won 5 features and 11 out of 12 heat races with that car. That car sold to AJMs, who started driving for me probably 2 years after that. And that was kind of the start of that new super modified looking striker chassis that I have, because I love to race super modified. I don't have the money, but I love one, so I just built an miniature one.
So now when you first started building these cars, I mean, I look around the shop here, you've got such an interesting operation here where you got a decent amount of room, you behind the camera there's a brand new OSCAAR modified being built. You got a decent sized space here. I'm assuming when you first started building these cars, this isn't where you were located. Were you just building out of your garage, or?
No, actually I had another shop in the same complex, but it was only 800 square feet. So it was pretty tight, and I mean, we had all our cars here, so we usually had 3 of our own cars plus what we were building. And about 2 years ago I decided I needed to get somewhere bigger. 2010 I built the newest style striker, and I went to Autumn Colors and won. And people were trying to buy that car when it came off the track. So I kind of knew then that I'm gonna have to grow. So I moved to the bigger shop, and I think we sold like 8 cars that year. So it was good, and we needed the bigger space. People don't realize that I build big cars too. You know, like they all thought I just stick to little cars. But if you wanna survive building race cars, you can't just build one. You have to be able to build a bunch of different ones.
Now, it's so interesting hearing him talk about being able to afford racing and what he has to do to make it work. I mean, you know how much racing costs. You've always had more than a couple of operations on the go outside of your national program. When did your program sort of turn the corner where it wasn't so much your dad helping as it was you just sort of taking the reins and saying, well, I'm gonna build this late model, or I'm gonna get this Thunder car? When did that start? How old were you then?
Well, I've always been into Thunder cars. It's really been my thing because that was an era that I missed. So I had a great deal of interest. And in 2010, I believe, it was 2006. I had that orange McCall car. That thing was a bullet. I go to Flamborough and we're fast. And then just kind of ever since then, I've been slowly getting the snowball rolling. And
was that the Camaro car? Was it old Dan Monahan car?
Yeah, Dan Monahan's car. Yeah, I bought that from him. I rented it from Delaware actually. We won that night, and then I bought it from him to go race the next year. But and then just kind of with everything that started happening there, you know, I'm good buddies with Jamie Grover, and we built a Hess chassis that had a Hess center section. And it was a Camaro clip car and everything, but before that, it was a chassis I had laying around. I didn't really want to do it.
To me.
And it was sitting in here.
Off on me.
It was sitting in here for the longest time because I just told Mike, you know, you can have that. And then I think, you know, at one of my little daydream sessions, I just said, you know, I'm coming to get that. So anyway, while that was getting cut up and built into a Camaro, I already had a Monte Carlo that I raced the year before, and we chopped the roof, lowered it, and everything. And so I had my own super stock car, and then I built one for Jeff Schaller. And it's funny how something, a little daydream turns into like a big success. And you know, a lot of people at Delaware Speedway don't really like Jeff because of his driving style. And as me, as a racer, I'd be really pissed off at him too. But as an owner, you're thinking, man, that boy can get her done.
And as a fan, he's entertaining as all hell to watch.
Jeff can get it done.
He's like his car owner.
That's my next question. Like this operation, you seem tied into. You help so many guys. I lose track. So I know Jamie Grover, Daryl Lake, Jake Christie, Jeff Schaller. Am I missing anyone? Like it just seems as though everyone in Delaware has a JR story, or they're tied into somehow.
I like helping people, right? And with Christie, he had a lot of problems with his late model, and so I just said, okay, well, if you let me drive, I'll help you do springs, shocks, and bump stops. And he let me drive one night. And we were really fast. We came from, I think, 7th or 8th, and we came up 3rd, but then I lost my brake pedal and didn't finish. But I like helping people out. But the thing with the Superstock stuff, I really enjoyed it because it really puts creativeness in it. And that's kind of like how I got into the modified stuff, was it makes it your own, you know.
Now, I want to say 2011, you came out with a gorgeous pro late model. Was it that?
Yeah.
Like one of the nicest late models that were on the scene at the time. I think if you brought it out of the barn now, it would still be one of the nicest cars. What led you to make that jump from, as much as you loved Thunder cars and Superstock, to make the jump to late model? Was that just another dating session?
2011, we won everything in Superstock. And I went Race Champions, won that. DeSable Beach, won that. Delaware the night before. We were winning everywhere we went. You know, I finished 2nd at Sunset. Always could never figure that place out, but got close a couple times, but always had a blast. So, I mean, we were on like a roll, right? So I'm like, man, I want to play with shocks, bump stops, and you can't really do that with Superstock legally. So we built this late model to go run against Kyle Busch, and we tested on a Monday, the car was bullet, and then we tuned it some more, and then we go and we ended up losing our brakes, and everything just went wrong. So anyway, we tested for a couple Tuesdays, and the car was a bullet, you know, and we go to Autumn Colors, we're fast there all weekend. I think I got parked for rough driving in one heat, which was bullshit. The next heat I won, and then the feature I got wrecked going into green, because...
I remember the call, when he got black flag for rough driving, he comes and finds me in the campground afterwards, and he goes, you sounded you were way too happy when you were saying that I was black flag rough drive. What was up with that? I'm like, no, I'm just calling it the way it happened, you know?
I was pretty heated about that. And even the OSCAAR Bob, who was flagging, him and I had a good, long, heated discussion about it, because I didn't think it was fair, but he's a really cool guy, Bob. He's not shy either. He yells He yells right back at you. He's a cool guy.
You can hear him from the tower.
And then the feature, you know, I started getting pushed away from late model after this. We go take the green, I get wrecked. Like, coming to the green, I got wrecked. You know, just a certain individual I race with on a regular basis just had to screw everything up for everybody. So, unfortunately, it didn't do well.
I didn't know Kerry mixed ran late model.
No, not him. And then we won Oktoberfest a week later, and then just after that, because of 2 different tracks, different rules, and we just parked it for now.
Now you've posted photos of it on some of your social media accounts. It's sitting. It's complete. Like you can pull it out of the barn.
It's a beautiful car.
It's just sitting right now because it's just the object of your frustration that you just didn't have a good time with it, so you're not.
Yeah, I mean, and there was one point in time where we put all body on it and redid some changes in the back end to try and make it better and to come out and try it. But then I had an ASA engine at the time, and then they said, well, you can't run that. So of course, naturally, I get pissed off about that, and we halt on that and focus on the NASCAR Canada stuff. And then a year later, they say you can have ASA. Well, I just sold the ASA motor, and so it's frustrating in a way. But what Flamborough and Delaware are doing right now is kind of sparking some interest in a way. Whether I keep the car and go race some of that sometime, or somebody's interested in the car, you know. But what they're doing there,
you should definitely let Westwood drive it.
He can't reach pedals. What they're doing there is really kind of cool.
Is there a chance that we could see you talk or cheat your way into a ride there and be a part of that home series?
I mean, I've tried doing some things like that, but it's just not right if it's not your own, you know.
So he's way too good of a racer, and he's way too obsessive to let a good car sit. So I don't know when you're gonna be watching. If you're watching this episode 2 years from now, that car will probably be on the track somewhere as something. You might have to cut some stuff out of it, but it's gonna come back. Now we talked about Hurricane midgets. I mean, there's just so much more that you do. Like the business started when you were flipping these Hurricane midgets and selling them as quick as you could build them, and it just mushroomed from there. I mean, how long has Striker Chassis been around for? What year are we in right now?
Well, I registered the business in, I think, 2010. So it hasn't been around that long, and since then, it's been going pretty good. I had 2 championships this year, one with Robin McLean in the Hurricane Midget. This was, I think, his third year in Hurricane Midget and second year in one of my chassis. And the year before he finished second in the points. This year he won it. But last year my nephew won the points. And that car came off my jig, and my brother-in-law actually finished the car.
That's Ryan Fraser.
That's right. And after that, Cliff Hodgkinson, I built him a brand new Outlaw Modified. And it's the strangest looking car you've ever seen. We call it the water bug.
Grasshopper.
The grasshopper, the mutant. It's got a few different names. And he won the championship this year at Varney in that car. And I ran a car for him a little bit this year at Varney, and I used to hate that track. I absolutely hated it. But this year, I mean, I usually run good there. I know this year when we went there with the OSCAAR, I had fastest time in practice, but I didn't have any tires for the qualifying, so I kind of got euchred on the qualifying. Everybody put their good tires on. I ran the whole day on the same set of tires, and they were used. I bought them from Jeff Hanley. So.
You ever won at Barney?
No, but I hardly ever raced Barney. I mean, we did the Hurricane, because I had a Hurricane too.
You did.
I built him the trickiest, slickest Hurricane Midget that there was.
But going back to all that, before that even started, it was 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago? The 91, the black, and the orange one.
Yes, I built a brand new car. It was my own personal car.
So
black and orange car.
So you know it had all the good parts in it.
It did. It had a lot of nice stuff in it. I put that car together, and JR said, "Oh, I really want to try it." And I said, "Well, come up to Barrie. They have an open practice day." So you come out, I'll put you in that car. He goes, "Okay." Sure enough, he shows up. We roll him through tech. He had to squat down a little bit in the seat because his head was a little close to the roll cage.
Yeah, he's got to make sure you don't flip it. You might be in trouble.
He's a tall son of a bitch.
I'm saying.
So he gets in the car and he goes out for practice in this thing. And he's going to me, just before he goes out on the track, he goes, "I bet you I can go through 3 and 4 and not lift." And I said, I don't know. I think you're going to have to lift. But I said, if so, if I have the car right, you won't have to lift much. Well, second lap around in a brand new car, what's he do? He doesn't lift. Comes off of 4, off the wall, but he hit nice and flat. Caves both the new aluminum wheels in. Comes off the track and goes, "Oh man, this car's fast. I think I touched the wall." I'm like, "Yeah, a little bit." So we put him on the scales, adjusted him up, sent him back out. Next thing you know, he runs a 14:35 in a Hurricane Midget at Barrie Speedway. Week later, he goes there with his NCATS car, calls me up and goes, "Best I could do was a 14:35 in my NCATS car." He goes, "I should be racing the other car."
You just look at the weight versus horsepower, right? You know, I never really. There was a time before I even drove the Hurricane. Then I drove around Flamborough. It was the older style car. And, man, I like bit my tongue. I'm never driving cars ever again. Like, this is just ridiculous, right? But the newer cars are very well built. You know, it kind of has twists here and there for suspension, I guess.
Yeah.
And so this past winter, I really enjoyed it. So I thought, you know, I want to try and get into it. And maybe me and Alora can share the car, right? So, but unfortunately, I got more pumped up about it, right? The seat, you know,
Alora is like, telling you, is Alora went faster in it?
No,
Sunset.
I don't think so.
And that was the kibosh right there.
I don't think so. And you know, I kind of got more pumped up about it that I wanted to be mine, so I ordered a bigger seat for it instead of one small for her. And when she drove it, she was actually doing really good. She did really well. But the seat was like hitting her arms, and then we went to a couple races, and Barney, we were really fast, hurt the motor. We'll go to Flamborough, just stinking the show. Like, thing was a rocket in practice.
He made them look silly.
And then the motor breaks. So at the end of the day, I kind of got pissy and just, think he's breaking.
So what happened to the car?
I sold it.
Jessica James owns it now.
Okay. I sold it, and it's funny. We go to the Sunset to watch him run the modified, and the car's there, and it was a bullet. Like,
she was flying.
And now there's a good motor in it. It's a bullet. So.
See, it's funny that you mentioned how well Alora did, because for those that probably don't know, is that Alora was not a terrible 4-fun driver in her day. I always thought she was going to make the move to mini stock and climb up the ladder, but that was about it. She
was smooth.
She had a good Dodge Shadow. She was out there in a 4-fun, and I guess she just sort of walked away, and now she's going to marry J.R. Fitzpatrick. So I guess it all works out in the end.
So I guess it's going downhill. I guess it's going downhill for her.
Well, I figured one day you'll give her an NCATS card. You guys can go up and down the roads together. So the Pro 4 mods, we'll look at your track record. Hurricane Midgets had 12, 15 cars when you started. Now they got well over
47.
I was going to say well over 40, 47 cars. Yeah. Pro 4 mods, ballpark 7 or 8 cars?
Well, the problem is the club kind of split. There's the Flambro Pro mods, or Pro 4 modifieds, and then they split, and the other half went to Barney and they're Outlaw modifieds. But they're basically the same car, and each track has about 10 cars. So there would have been 20 in total. I think the split didn't come at a good time. Like, they were just starting to get car counts, and people were getting interested in cars, and people were actually calling me about building them. And then when they split, all that talk ended right there. Like, people figured, oh, well, this class is over, and, you know, and I think it really hurt them. Like, really hurt them.
Now, I've seen the New England-based Pro 4 Modified Tour at Thompson Speedway for the World Series. They get like 30 cars, and it's good racing. Is that very similar to what this car is, or what these Pro 4 Modifieds are?
It's basically exactly the same thing. The difference is in New England, they have limited and unlimited, and it's just motored. AJM's that drives for me, he took the car that I built to Thompson this year for Cliff Hodgkinson, and he was running unlimited. And they said that he passed half the unlimited guys with a limited car. And then he got caught up in a wreck, but that stirred a lot of interest because they've never seen a car that looked like that, because it was so odd looking car.
So now, do you want to take this on as another project to try to A, sell cars and benefit your business, and B, bolster the ranks of the Pro 4 Modified division? I mean, have you built a Pro 4 mod from the ground up, other than Cliff's car?
Just Cliff's car.
Just
That's
Cliff's
the only
car.
one that I built from the ground up. Brian Nanico, who owns the car that's actually sitting behind the camera, you can't see it right now. He owns about, I think, 5 cars, and he drops them off pretty steady here for different things, bodies. I put a clip on one of his cars last summer in about a week, so we could get the car back out. And he's been kind of, and Cliff and his father, they've been bringing me their cars too. I would like to see that class grow. They're fun. I mean, they're fun to drive. It feels like the big modified, just less horsepower. They're about the same amount of rubber.
So the two classes should not be stupid and join together.
Exactly. Let's get some. If Delaware and Flamborough can work together, I'm sure the two different Outlaw Modifieds and Pro 4 Modifieds can mend that fence and bring a 20-car field to
No
sunset.
different than when OSCAAR and OSCAAR.
I remember the OSLR.
Right.
I forgot. Like,
So I mean, it doesn't look good for anybody. If there's 5 racing here, 5 racing there. It looks better if there's 10 than 5 in each. I don't understand why some people think that venturing off, they're going to prove a point, but you're not proving anything except you're going to hurt the class.
Exactly. It's not bad for the culture. It's not bad for the racers. I want you to weigh in, and I know that you're obviously still with the NASCAR Canadian Tire Series, so you don't have to be super critical. I just want to get your opinion of where the series, where the tour's at right now, where it's headed. I mean, do you agree with what NCATS is right now, or is there some work to be done?
You know, NASCAR's done a lot of good things for the series, but also it's not as big as when CASCAR was around. You know, the year I won the championship in 06, which was the last year of CASCAR, we go out west and there's 45 cars. The out west division, and you had CASCAR sportsman guys that could come. Unfortunately, it's just not like that because of all the rule changes. You know, like I got to put fire bottles in all my cars. I got to change a fireball that it's brand new when you look at it. Actually, it's going to go with probably these. Because what do you do with them? I don't know, they're brand new.
Same numbers.
Like, you know, it's just, so the rules have hurt the guy that could, you know, the local guy to build one.
The guy that can jump up from
Right.
right.
You know, it's unfortunate because the division is very high profile. The drivers are very good. We run a lot of laps. You know, I would like to say the top 5 in NCATS, if they fully focused on a Saturday night program, they'd be the guys to beat. Just for the amount of laps we get a year.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of them do have good corporate backing and whatnot, but the laps we get is pretty phenomenal.
Is there a feeling within the series itself that, I mean, you got a lot of guys that are getting up there in years. That, you know, like even a guy like Scott Steckley, who's been doing this a long time, now he's got a younger family. I know DJ's got a younger family. So, I mean, these guys are going to be doing this forever. As we see older drivers getting to the end of their careers, it doesn't seem as though there's the same guys walking in the front door to do full tours. Is that a cause for concern amongst drivers in the series?
Well, drivers and the fans see it too. I mean, you know, I might get in trouble for saying that, but they're in trouble. The series is in a little bit of trouble because we only see minimum. I think we've seen 14 cars in one race before, and that's not good. But the road courses are seeing all these big races, right?
Quebec races are huge.
Yeah, because you know all the drivers in Quebec are all the road courses. So the road course side is good, but not all of us want to be racing road courses every week. I'm really good on the road courses, but I grew up in ovals.
He is a road course ringer.
He hates when I tell him that, but he is.
No, I just got lucky, I guess.
Better to be lucky than good.
Yeah, well, I haven't been lucky in a couple years by the way my stats have been, but
I don't know. You have a kid on the way. You might be lucky.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
But I mean, you know, an old guy doesn't want to go road course racing all the time, and it's a shame, you know. I think you might see a little bit of growth, but I think we're kind of staying here, and that's where it's going to stay.
It sounds as though the rumor right now, and obviously the NCAT's schedule at the time of this shooting has not been released, so we don't know where they're headed and when. It doesn't look as though they're going back to Delaware, though. That looks almost confirmed. What are your thoughts on it? Because, I mean, Delaware was the home of NASCAR, so it was the unofficial home of NCATs. I mean, it was the base, and now to not go back there, does that bum you out?
It bums me out because I like Delaware. I've always run good at Delaware. The history of the division at Delaware is pretty cool to be a part of. But, I mean, as a track, you know, they're probably not making their money at it or whatever, because, you know, they do have to charge a lot for us to come, and it's unfortunate. But they're focusing more on their local program, which I'm actually very excited to see, you know, because local short track racing is where it's at. You know, you might see little touring divisions here and there that are going to make up the big shows. Yes. What's this got to be about? And, you know, all the tracks are doing the right thing right now. Sunset, Delaware, Flamborough, they're all going the right way, and yes. I want to be a part of it.
I love it. So, I mean, we've been talking all day now about your open wheel escapades from Hurricane Midgets all the way up to the Pro 4 Modified. So I guess it only made sense to get into the OSCAAR Modified Tour. You picked up your first Troyer, and it became a Troyer by Striker with all the upgrades and updates that you did to it. And you've hit the ground running with this tour. What is it about the OSCAAR Modifieds that's really stirred this fire in you that's made you want to build all these cars?
I love open wheel. I mean, probably 95% of my career it's always been open wheel, and I always liked the tour modifieds. Like every time I saw one, I was like, oh, I'd love to have one of those cars. And the modified divisions that were already around here, they were basically late models that they took the fenders off of.
Yes.
They didn't look like a modified, so they never really interested me at the time. And then JR actually mentioned to me about the OSCAAR Modifieds. When the first year they came out, he said, oh, they started this new division, OSCAAR Modifieds. And I said, really? He goes, yeah, I think they're going to be pretty cool. So I think their first race was at Sunset or something like that. So I hadn't seen the new track, like since they had changed the track. I had only run at Sunset once before on the old track in a Hurricane Midget. Just about bit my tongue off. So I went out to Sunset to watch these OSCAAR Modifieds, and I believe it was Davey Terry's showed up with his car.
Yes.
And
the Troyer by Anley.
I saw that thing and thought, right on, I like this. And then JR was there. I think you were racing Mosport or something that day. You came later on that day, and we started talking. I'm like, we got to get into this. So we talked about it for pretty much the first year, and then when that winter rolled around, just before the winter, I went to New Hampshire and to race an outlaw modified. And I said to my wife, I said, let's take the trailer down. Let's buy a car when we're down there. And she actually...
You're as crazy as he is.
Yeah, a little bit. So she actually agreed to it. So we went and raced the entire weekend. And by the way, she was like 9 months pregnant at the time. So we went down and we raced that weekend. And on the way back, we made a little trip over to Rhode Island and picked up a modified and brought it back. And my uncle and I worked on it most of the winter. We missed, I think, the first race or first 2 races with it. We didn't have it ready. Then I bought another one, and he was going to drive it. He was going to do work on it and drive it. And it came out of North Carolina, and he decided he wanted to go super late model racing, so he sold the car off, and now Schaller has it. Hopefully it'll come out.
Couple years.
Yeah. But, like I said, I've been part of a lot of different clubs, and OSCAARs run really well. Like, I like the way that OSCAARs run. Everybody goes through tech before they hit the track, and they check variables, different things all over the car which I like. The competition, I know everybody thinks that Gary's running away with it, and Gary's a stud. I mean, you can't deny that he's a stud. Everybody says he's got way more motor than everybody. No, he doesn't.
Just way more laps.
He's got a car that they know. They know that car inside and out. They hardly ever touch that car at the track. You know, just a fine adjustment. They know the car. They got a guy that knows the car that's driving it and can drive, and they have a good engine program. He's not unbeatable, but if you want to beat him, you got to get your shit together, or else you're not going to beat the guy. And I went out there last year, and I really enjoyed the competition and enjoyed the cars. And now I own 3 of them, and I won't let him sell his.
Don't let it happen, because
He's been trying, and I keep talking him out of it.
How many modifieds have you owned now? This is number 3. This is number 3. So third time's a charm.
So in a way, I'm helping the division too.
This is true.
But
Helping the economy too.
I try and do what I can to help classes. I wouldn't say I'm the reason that the Hurricanes grew as much as they did, but it sure helped having somebody that built cars. I stock parts. All my cars are jig built, and all the parts are jig built, so you can call me and actually buy the part. Where a lot of the old Hurricanes, I mean, the guy that built it was the guy that raced it, and he sold the car, and he's not around anymore. Well, how do you build the part? Like, most guys don't know how to build a part. And say you wanted to go racing, but you don't know how to build anything on your own, but you want to go racing. Well, what are you going to do with that car if it breaks? You don't know how to fix it.
Right.
At least with one of my cars, you can call me up and have the part, like, basically the next day, and you can go racing again. Now I'm trying to do that with OSCAAR, and I think Dave sees it.
So now you had the Troyer by Stryker chassis that you ran in 2013. That's now gone out the door to Gary Elliott. The first Stryker chassis is now out in the open market. It's no longer driven by Mike Westwood. So now you're starting the same operation that you've done with the Pro 4s and the Hurricane Midgets. Now you're here with the OSCAAR Modified Tour. You've got this gorgeous car behind you that's a former Darrell Lyman car, which I believe it was a McCall car?
Yeah, the center section of McCall.
So it's now McCall by Stryker.
It's got one of my front clips on it. Yeah, it's coming along. It's about 90% done now.
Now, so long as no one shows up with a suitcase full of cash, this will be your 2014 ride.
Well, I have another modified sitting up in the trailer that I just bought recently, and I believe it's a shipway chassis.
I think you had something to do with that, did you not?
Yeah, he did. He makes me spend my money.
We need a spare car.
Obviously, why not? You know, you need a couple spare cars.
So I bought that car just in case this one wasn't ready. It was turnkey. All I did to it was make it OSCAAR legal. There's a few things on it that didn't meet OSCAAR's rule. So we already changed that stuff on it, and it's basically ready to go now. And my uncle that works for me during the week, he needed something to do. So I had a Howe clip sitting around the shop. And I said, let's throw the Howe clip on the bench and build another modified. So that was Friday we decided that. So Friday morning we went to the metal shop, picked up tubing, came back, and in the afternoon we basically started a new modified. And we'll either sell it, or I'll drive it and sell it, or whatever.
Now, just to show how tight the OSCAAR group keeps it, is that Howe clip came from 4-time OSCAAR champion Glenn Watson. So it's just one big circle, these guys selling stuff to one another and building things. And I mean, it's given so much legitimacy to the open wheel modified division. I mean, they used to show up in autumn colors with 13 cars, and Gary McLean would lap the field, and that would be it. But now you've got some stud drivers, you got some high profile guys. I mean, it's blowing up, and you had a pit stop this year with the super late model division, and I think a lot of people, myself included, thought that would be your home. That aside from your national program, you'd be a super late model guy. That's not the way it worked out. Tell me about your super late model season and how it didn't go the way you planned.
I mean, the year before, Roy let me drive the car at Sunset. We finished 4th, and there's some things about it I didn't really like, and so we redid the whole thing over the winter and fixed a lot of stuff that was bent. The guy he bought it off really screwed him in a way. Like, that's how he wrecked the Delaware. Everything was bound up. Anyway, so we got it fixed and ran well. Over the winter, we fixed a couple little things here and there, and then we go to Sunset and test it the first time. It was really good. I was really happy with it. And we go back, and then it's just hell from there. We had like 8 people that wanted to help, be a part of it, but it just turned into a big cluster. And we changed the spring in the front of the car, and they unhooked the bar, and it it got real bad. Anyway, we kind of sucked. You know, that's after the left rear wheel fell off, which I was not happy about at all. That really sucked. And then, you know, the power steering cap fell off. It's just,
so just little follies, and it's sort of
stupid things.
Safe to say that it kind of soured your experience with the single lane models.
And it's just been the way my last couple of years have been with the racing stuff. But and then when the built motor lost a belt, Roy decided, you know, we got to try the crate motor program. So we tried it, and as Sun said, I wasn't revving it enough, and still didn't really have a feel for it. So we tested at Peterborough. We got the car really fast, and it was fun. We fixed the sway bar issue. We fixed all that stuff. And the car was a bullet. I had lots of fun there. We go to race day, same thing. It's a bullet. It's just when it rained and wiped all that sticky stuff off the track, I just lost touch with the track. So we were a 6 or 7 place car, and then I got caught up with somebody and kind of ended our day. But you know, next year it'll be out a couple times for sure. But focus on this one more.
So obviously, like, I mean, the open wheel modified interest is nothing new for you. You were interested in the open wheel modified before you had your ride with Roy Pass in the Super Late. So what was it that finally pushed you over the edge where you said, all right, I got to do this, I'm going to build this modified, and I'm going to race with the OSCAAR modified as much as I can. What was the driving force behind it?
At first it was the Super, right? But, you know, Roy's pretty much my family, right? You know, like he and Laura says, there's no point in having 2 Supers, you know? Roy wants to do a handful, I want to do a handful, it's just perfect, right? So once we get that car figured out, it's going to be really good. That car is a really nice car. It just needs some more work done to it. And not overthinking. I overthink a lot of stuff, so I then decided, you know, the OSCAAR Modifieds is growing. You know, they got a series sponsor now. They have a ton of cars. More cars are going to come because once everybody realizes that to race these doesn't cost a lot. To build them, if you're building brand new, yes, but you can go to the US buy a Troy or $4 grand and be competitive now with the new rule changes.
Yeah, you no longer have to reclip them, right? You don't have to the lumber.
And looking back, maybe I should
never reclip mine.
Okay.
See, everybody thinks I reclip mine. I left the stock clip on that car, and it was a 2-inch ride height car. I made my own spindles for it and my own control arms.
Okay.
And it took me a little bit to get the car to work, but by the end of the year, the car worked.
But now you don't even need to do that.
Yeah, so I mean, looking back, I should have got a Troyer, maybe a couple. You know, who knows? But
take the stacker down.
Might as well for how much they cost. They're cheap. So, but the series is really cool. You know, Gary McLean, having the experience around him that he does, he's a king of modifieds, right? Greg Gibson, genius, right? So that made me, I have my eye set on it. I want to be as good as those guys. And I have a couple good buddies of mine that we can go get them. We're going to try our best, give them a good run for their money, but they're really stout. Davey Terry, I'm good buddies with Davey. Shane Stickle, you know, Mike. I'm becoming buddies with all these guys, right?
Shane ran good last year.
It makes it a lot of fun to have your buddies there and race against them. Where NASCAR Canada, as soon as you're in the pits, it's just silent.
It does. It's this professional level where it seems as though everyone's at work. Yeah. And I mean, I never really experienced that until this season, where you get the guys that are the best at what they do. I mean, all the crew chiefs are amazing. The spotters are really good. The drivers. I mean, it is professional without question, but there's just this air of it's just tense. It's really tense. It's just the best way to describe it.
And you know, it's not. You know, we're putting on a family show, but in the pits, there's nothing family about it. Really, in my mind, you know, I can't bring Laura with me and have her in the pits. And it's just you don't have time to talk to her. Right. You don't have time to talk to your friends. It's just time. Everything's timeline, and it gets stressful. But I like being there because of the competition. The guys are really good. You got to be on your A game. You know, when you break, you're out. You know, I finished 6th last year because I broke everything with the frame rail, right? So I mean, it's stressful, but it is a lot of fun. But with the modified stuff, I'm looking forward to being part of that.
Now I'm looking at this car. You gave me the tour of it. I mean, this is like the Mona Lisa of modifieds, man. This is a beautiful piece that you built from the ground up. I mean, tell us a little bit about this chassis that you got coming out this year and all the. I mean, because you were talking about how you and your father started to change the face of NCATs with all the little things you did. I mean, you might change the face of the way guys look at it and build OSCAAR modifieds. Tell me a little bit about this chassis while we got the time.
I mean, it's a really cool chassis. Had like kind of an idea of mixing it between a Super Late and a Troyer. And you know, it's a McCall chassis, really nice, really light. Well, hopefully it doesn't stir anybody the wrong way. You know, this is definitely not the direction that I would have went a year ago, but the rules changed to benefit Troyer cars. But it's gonna be really nice. You know, we're doing some tin body, you know, at Mike Westwood fabrication, so it's gonna look really, really nice. And not sure on color scheme yet, but it's gonna look really nice.
Don't get them going on color.
We're going to run a crate motor, 604 crate. You know, I'm different than what a lot of guys think the 602 is the benefit. If you're a race for a championship, definitely. If you're just doing one-offs, I think 604 is the way to go.
Now, is that these cars, you're of the mind that build motors are a thing of the past, so the modifies like crates the way to go, whether it's the 602 or the 604?
It's just cost, right? I went with crate just because it's cheaper. The built motor stuff, don't get me wrong, a lot of great engine builders out there that can build you a good stout built motor. It's just for one-offs, I just went crate.
Now I want to talk, we're wrapping things up here, about your business, because I mean, I've spoken in depth with Mike McCall and guys like that and understood. Now we're winding down here, so I want to talk a little bit more about Striker Chassis and where it's headed, because if you started this legit in 2010, the growth you've experienced in 3 really short years it's startling. And you talk to a guy like Mike McCall and the type of business sense they have. I mean, you're crazy similar in the type of passion that you have for these cars. I mean, give me a little bit of insight. I'm going to look back on this in a couple of years when you're Mr. Big Time. So tell me right now, like, where you're headed with Striker Chassis and what's the game plan as of 2014?
Right now, this isn't my full-time occupation, but it's the majority of it. I would like this to be my full-time job. I'm working towards that. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I will work hard. I think that's one reason why JR and I get along so well. I know people think he's a spoiled brat, but I've worked with him in the shop, and I mean, he works just as hard as I do. And you know, that's why I have people that drive for me too, trying to get my name out there, trying to get people to buy my stuff. I figured out early that you can't just build one type of car. You'll die. You just can't do it. You gotta build a bunch of cars. I'm not saying I know everything about every car, but I try and learn as much as I can. It's nice having JR in the shop. I don't know a lot about bump stops. I mean, I'll be the first guy to admit it, and that guy does.
Yes, he does. You told me up here you ran the first ever TQ midget to run on bump stops. Like, how did that come about?
I mean, I ran trucks. We were all coil minded back then. So I wanted to do something similar with only do bump stops. So I ran my TQ and bump stops. And it was really fast everywhere, and I was
extremely fast.
One night I really nailed it, and there was a Flamborough, but I shredded the tire because I just loaded it too much. But
he's not lying. There was pieces, I could see them, 10 cars behind them, I could see pieces going through the air.
That's why I like at the OSCAAR meeting, and this is why I kind of like OSCAAR. It comes to a vote with rules. As soon as they were coming out and say, okay, next stop is bumps, they didn't even say stocks, everybody said no. So we were laughing. I was bummed out about that.
We knew before they even said it.
I mean, I don't know much about TQ midgets other than the fellas that drive them. So are they all running on bump stops now? Like, is that a thing now?
No. The majority of them are coilover. A lot of the older cars are torsion bar. You do get a mix sometimes of like torsion front, coil rear. I noticed Darcy McLennan, he had a bump on the right rear, so they were starting to experiment with it. But I don't think anybody in that club has really gone straight bump, not like he did. Like, I mean, it was insane fast how fast the car was. But the car just wasn't designed for the bump stops. If we had spent a little more time, we could have got that car to work like it should have, and nobody would have touched it. Like, nobody. It was insane how quick it was.
Now, going back to your long-term plan for Striker Chassis, I love the way you put it. If you only build one car, you're going to die. I'm on board with that 100%. The way that the marketplace is right now, I mean, there's just not, guys aren't ordering cars every year. That's just, you know, a guy can stretch a chassis to make it work for a few seasons, and you know, it makes things tough. So now, with the way that these modifieds are jumping off, I mean, is the climate of the market just right now that you can find yourself sort of ingraining your way into the OSCAAR modified scene? Is that what you're hoping to do?
That's what I'm hoping to do. I would have liked to run a little bit better last year to prove that, you know, I can build these cars. But it was the first time in a full-size car in 10 years, maybe even more than last time I was in a full-size car, I was like 16, 39 now, so it was a long time ago.
You old boot.
I am an old boot. So, you know, the car worked pretty good right off the start, but I think it was more me. I needed to learn the car. I needed to learn the size of the car. Like I said, the heaviest car I had driven since I was 16 was probably a 900-pound car, right? Now I'm in a 2,600-pound car, so it took a little bit to get used to. But in the end, I mean, by the end of the year, the car worked pretty good. A lot of people followed me building that car on Facebook. I know a lot of the tracks that I go to, it surprises me how many people follow what I build on Facebook. And I mean, I hardly ever put anything personal on Facebook. It's usually just stuff that's going on in the shop. And it's kind of stuff that I'd like to see, like stuff that kind of interests me. I'm hoping that kind of stuff brings me more customers and makes it so that I can do this full time.
Because we're getting close, right?
We're getting close.
We're getting close.
We're getting close.
I can't wait to come back and shoot another episode with you when this is your full-time gig.
Hopefully it'll be even a bigger shop.
I kind of like this job, but you're on your way, my friend. I can tell that just by talking to you. I want you to weigh in on a couple things for me while we're sort of wrapping things up here. You have an abundance of experience with the national tour. You spent your entire adult life, you know, putting all your time and effort towards this national tour. Now that you're getting behind something like the OSCAAR Modifieds and OSCAAR Super Late Models, is there room to take that nationally, or are we still a long way away from that?
I mean, it's well on its way. Dave Gameforth is doing a phenomenal job. You know, not many people understand how much that guy hustles behind the scenes. You know, he's a great guy. He really lured me into being a part of OSCAAR because I started texting him. I don't like talking phone, so I text. I forget. TJ Woolsey gave me Dave's number. So, I mean, Dave's a great guy to deal with. But, you know, even if I can't drive this as much as I want, because I know, you know, a lot of people don't want me to do modifieds, want me to strictly concentrate on the NASCAR Canada, which I do want to win a title there because it's been 10 years or something now since I've won that. Who knows how long it's been. Getting old. Since 06 since I've won that championship, and we've been really close, so I want to focus on that and get it done. But I want to put this car at every race this year and have it there to show my support for OSCAAR, for Dave, the fans, the drivers, everybody, and help build this deal up. So they're well on their way, man. The OSCAAR Mod's got a sponsor. They're going to go out of Ontario. Well, no.
Well, they're talking about it, though. Dave Gameforth's been on this show and talked about it. He's
I was going to say, they're really close going out of Ontario.
They are really close.
But they're going further than the
in the capital city.
They're going to capital city, which I've driven there. That's a cool place. Drove a mini stock.
It's wild. You would like it. It's challenging. It's a driver's track.
I won a mini stock race there. That was a lot of fun. So that track's going to be cool. That'll be a sold-out event. Great crowd there for them. And like I said, I want to try and get this car to every race to show my support.
Is it a short list of guys that you're going to be putting in the seat there? Because I know you don't trust just anyone with your equipment. Who's on the list?
I mean, obviously there's a couple guys in the series that I would let take it if they had problems with theirs, right? So as long as everyone knows that. You know, there's a couple of buddies of mine. Like, I want to get halfway in it when we're both off.
Yes.
But I don't know who I put in for events like that because it is going to be tough. I got to lean a lot on Mike because, you know, like if the car's going, I got to make sure they warm it up. Just silly things. It'll bug me, but I do want to go to every race and because I am focusing on trying to get the NASCAR title for once. Been so close, so. I'm going to try.
See, for my money, I'd love to see Jeff Schaller in this car. Because I know that Jeff's ultimately trying to get his own modified on track. I'd love to see what a guy that wheels like Jeff does could do in an open wheel modified. Now, I know as a car owner, you might not want, I mean, the way he sort of throws elbows and gets a little wild in there, you might not want him in your car.
I mean, you know, we drive a lot alike. So, you know, I've always told Mike we got to get some extra wheels, make sure our right side nerf bar is nice and strong because I got to figure out where the wheels are at.
Yes.
So,
but yeah, you know, to me, order extra right side wheels because he goes, I'm going to bend them.
Just bring a whole pallet in.
And you know, Jeff, he gets her done, man. Schaller can wheel a race car. So his focus, I think, right now is pursuing the late model route. I don't even know if he reached pedals in that. But
you could, I mean, you could make it work somehow.
You know,
exactly.
If Schaller wanted to, he'd be a guy I trust for sure. You know, we're friends, and we have been for a few years now, and we obviously had a lot of success together. 2 championships in 2 years, so.
And that's a good field he's racing against.
Oh yeah. So he'd be a good guy I'd put in, but only if he wanted to. I'm not going to call him and say I want you to take this because he's pursuing late models. So good for him.
Now, if you win the national championship this year, is that it for handicats? Like, what happens after you? I mean, you've been chasing this dream for so long. It's like a dog chasing cars. Like, what happens when you get there? What's the next step?
I guess we don't really know. I mean, obviously, Alora and I had a little one on the way, and whether this changes it or not, you know, we're still going to live our lives, have lots of fun doing it. But in terms of the NASCAR Canada thing, I don't know. It depends on what my dad wants to do. He owns the whole thing, so I'd like to win it and maybe take a break. You know, and just go have some fun. But we really want that like that.
Now you've had some stellar runs south of the border, and I know how much it costs and money, number one, but time and effort and everything to just make those deals work. I mean, you've had so much success doing it. Is that still in the back of your mind, or now that you've started a family, you're sort of happy with that chapter in your life and what you're able to do?
I mean, you know, like I was saying, I've been there, done that. You know, I was in the right place, right time. You know, met some great corporate sponsors, got there with Mamu, and how that whole deal worked. And we had really good runs, but the stats weren't good because, like, pit stops, I'd wreck, you know, learning. And those trucks and tracks are totally different than around here. Everyone says, oh, it's easy, it's easy. It's really hard. And you got kids down there that race 30 times a year. Well, what if I only run 12 or 30 or however many? But no, I don't want to go back there. I mean, this is real racing, the short track stuff around here. You know, NASCAR Canada, we get to travel around Canada, see a lot of cool people. I want to stay here.
There you go, folks. He's staying at home, which is excellent news. I got to thank you for putting us up here. Westwood even bought pizza, so for future bench racing shoots, I go around Ontario with this stuff. If you want us to come to your shop, cool, but you got to buy the pizza like Westwood did. He came through. Or Monster and Rockstar. It's great. Like, I love it. So thank you so much for having us. You're on Twitter. What's the Twitter handle?
91 Mike Westwood.
Follow him on Twitter because he's always got cool stuff on there with pictures of all the crazy stuff that he's building. Add him on Facebook. This dude over here's got like 15,000 Twitter followers. Like, it dwarfs my Twitter account. It's like crazy. What's the Twitter handle?
J_R_Fitzpatrick.
It's not even an easy one to memorize, but somehow he's got like, you know, thousands of people following. J_R_Fitzpatrick.
Don't take anything personally.
There you go.
I had a little hissy fits on it.
It's awesome. It's entertaining. Like, my top three is Davey Terry, Matt Martin, and J.R. Fitzpatrick are the three guys you need to follow. Westwood's up there too, but his is all business. It's not so much.
Yeah, I don't post a whole lot.
Yeah, so
it's not as much as those guys do.
Exactly. So Davey Terry, Matt Martin, J.R. Make sure you're following them. Thanks for watching Bench Racing. We'll be back. I don't know who's on the next one. It'll be cool. I promise it'll be worth your time. Follow me on Twitter at @ItSpencerLewis. For all of us here, for Chris Doucette holding the camera for a straight hour, I appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.